Hi, so I wanted to talk a little bit about fillers and Botox. So I personally am not a big fan of fillers and Botox, but this little speech is definitely not meant to be judgmental of anyone. Everyone is free to do their research and, choose what they feel is best for them. I know plenty of people that do them and absolutely no judgment. This is just my own personal perspective and experience with it. So, my perception on Botox, we'll start with that. So, Botox is a toxin, a neurotoxin that's injected, into the skin. It is derived from a bacteria that causes botulism, but when used in small amounts, it was determined to be safe for human use and for cosmetic use. So Botox has been around for a while, but it was approved for cosmetic use in 2002. So it's only been 17 years, and there's very little to almost none long-term studies, or like the studies showing the long-term effects of its use. So that's one of the hesitations I have with using it. I feel like there's just not enough research. And the research that has been done has been for therapeutic or medical use, not for cosmetic, at least the ones that I found. But in knowing how Botox works, this is my perception. So what Botox does when it's injected is that it paralyzes the muscle so that it can be relaxed and not contract and cause these lines, right? So so it prevents like dynamic movement of the muscle, and in the relaxed state, obviously it kind of like relaxes it enough that it erases those lines. So what happens when you don't use a muscle? So or it's paralyzed. If you see someone like in a wheelchair that hasn't been using their legs and their legs get really skinny, it's because the muscle has atrophied. So when we, pump iron and we get buffed, we get like a big bulk of muscle. Well, if we were not using a muscle at all, it would atrophy and get really thinned out. So think about the muscles in your face. So as we get older, we tend to lose volume and muscle mass to begin with, but then when you do the Botox, you're like atrophying those muscles even more. So if you were to use Botox for a while and then stop, those muscles are going to be very weak and very atrophy and probably very saggy. So it's like once you start using it, if you've been using it for a long time, you're going to have to continue using it. And we don't know what those long-term effects are. By the way, in the therapeutic studies of long-term effects, one study I was looking at, there was 45 participants, and 20 of them over 12-year usage had pretty significant side effects, like difficulty swallowing, breathing, eyelid drooping, and so forth. So, but that was not cosmetic, that was therapeutic, so it is different. So that's my perception. I don't want my muscles to get more atrophied and saggy as I get older, because it's going to happen anyway, and I don't want to contribute to that if for some reason I had to stop doing Botox. So I really try to find natural ways to improve your muscle tone or improve my muscle tone in a way that's working from inside out. So something that's building up my skin, not risking it becoming weaker or more atrophy. And I also personally prefer for myself a more natural look instead of looking kind of like frozen or paralyzed or overdone at this point in my life. In terms of, so that's my thing with the Botox, or my main thing. I'm sure there's others that I forgot, but I don't have any notes in front of me. With the fillers, what fillers do is they get injected and then kind of like stretch out because they're filling up that cavity. Let's say your lips, it's filling up that cavity to make it plump and filled. So usually it's hyaluronic product, which is naturally occurring in the body, but it's a different consistency than it's in our body. And then so what our body with time will absorb that product, the filler. But since it's a sustained stretch in that cavity that they put it in, you're going to end up with kind of like, I don't want to say a hole, but that cavity is going to be stretched. basically. So each time you put fillers, you're probably going to need more and more and more to fill that outstretched cavity. So it gets to a point, and you see this with people, where their lips kind of, it doesn't look natural anymore. Like the lips are like out to here because they're needing more and more filler. So I don't have a solution for the lip thing to make, I mean, you can do some microneedling and nano needling to kind of like just stimulate them and penetrate some product and make them look plump. But there's lip plumpers too that are more topical that you can use, and I think that certainly helps some. And with the microneedling, you do need to be careful when you microneedle the lip area, because you don't want to microneedle the vermilion line, because you could lose it and then your lips start to fade into your face, especially if you're like light skin tone and your lips are almost the same color as your skin. So something to be careful with. So that's my take on fillers and why I haven't done those. So feel free to message me or post any questions you may have.